Hi, and welcome to this week's series of Your Healthy Heart. In this, our 7th podcast, we will share our Valentine's Day secrets. We are Poppy and Geoff Spencer, relational experts, speakers, and authors. And today, February 14th, is Valentine's Day 2017. And we want to share with you 5 things you can do today to keep the feeling of Valentine's Day in your hearts all year long. And we wanted to ask you a question. What if you could really, in a few easy steps, extend that feeling, that essence of it all year long?
I'd like to do that.
Well, he already does.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks. Well, last week we shared with you healthy heart communication. And excuse me, I have to beg forgiveness. I have a bit of a cold that I'm struggling through. So if I sound like it, it's because I have one. Your relationship, healthy heart communication, your relationship, where we infused a lot of my nautical terminology as metaphor for the most important people in your life. In January's podcast, we introduced you to our trademark communication tool, the emotional clock. And this is the bedrock of our work as relational experts. We'll regularly refer to this. If you don't really have good communication, the relationship will flounder. Any relationship. So we are here to help. We developed our emotional clock as a tool to help people with their communication. And there are all 12 emotions on the 12 points of the clock are there to address and help you immediately identify and address being the operative word, not ignore, address issues, concerns, challenges, nagging feelings, doubts, etc.
Right. And we're excited to share with you this week our theme of Your Healthy Heart. This week's topic is just one word: validate. If we broke it down into syllables, we have the beginning of Valentine's, then the letter I, which we always like as the accountability, and then date, which is the essence or the mindset you need to keep in your heart and head throughout the year. And it's always a good thing, like whenever we see couples or we work with couples who are challenged by things, one of the things, and we know many of you know this already, is to intentionally plan a date. And have the mindset as you're getting ready for work in the morning or that night, when you're in the shower or you're just having a moment to yourself. Think of your partner as if you are dating him or her throughout your life, no matter how many years you've been together or a short time. And so one of the suggestions we gave last week, and it's not too late to still do this, men or women, is the Valentine's gift box. And we suggested that you buy any heart-shaped gift box, unwrap it, remove the cellophane, eat or toss all but 1 or 2 of the chocolates.
I wouldn't eat them all at one time. That'd be a bad thing.
Oh, I so easily could. Fill the remaining holes with love notes, cherished memories, movie tickets, jewelry, sporting or concert tickets, coupons for, cleaning the dishes.
You mean like for me to do that? For you?
Or for me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't let him do dishes when he was sick. He was off duty. A spa day coupon, a night out with girls or guys, any kind of coupon. You get the idea. And you can even leave a hole empty. And we'll tell you about that hole a little bit later.
Poppy and I have a unique perspective as well. And, this idea of keeping things fresh, and I'll explain. We were apart. Many of you hopefully know this, but we were apart for 32 years. We have a lovely little picture we often share that shows us from 38 years ago, since we've been together now for 6. But it shows us this from back when we were in college, and it shows us then and 6 years ago when we first reunited in the same place. And people always go, "Oh my gosh, look at this great picture." And we always say, what you don't know about this picture is we were apart for 32 years. So we didn't have all that wonderful time together to build all kinds of great memories, to cultivate a great life together, to have children together, to take family vacations together. Because we were apart so long and missed so much, we were very uber cognizant of appreciating that time together. Every gesture is considered a kind gesture for each of us. It's never the exception for us. It's the rule. We do it all the time. We just cherish every moment because they're so precious, because we gave away so many. Let me repeat this. It isn't the exception. It's the rule. We do it all the time, not just on Valentine's Day, or birthdays or other little events like that.
Or our anniversary, which is coming up, which is, I don't need to remind him, though.
But your listeners, you can plan on that, February 19th. You can send us things. It's okay. Okay. It's our gift that we feel forever blessed to receive.
I mean, just think about this. Can you imagine this feeling? Close your eyes for just a moment, unless you're driving, of course, and definitely don't do that. But just imagine the time when you first fell in love with someone, your partner, somebody, and just take a moment, a few seconds to recall that memory as best you can. Think about it. Where were you? What sounds were happening around you? What aromas lingered in the air? What tastes did you have? Remember how your skin felt at your love's touch. Just thinking about that might give you goosebumps. When we share our story about our lost and found love with people often show us their arms and say, "Oh my gosh, your story gives me goosebumps."
You know, and Poppy, talk about our story. When we've done some editing of our book multiple times, and we've referred to it for blogs we're writing, and it's always especially fun and refreshing to both of us to look back at these things, and it just enlivens both of us and reminds both of us how incredibly blessed we are that we not only lost each other but found each other. We had this great love that was lost for too many years, and we put it right back together again.
And our book is 1 billion seconds, and you can get it on Amazon if you're so inclined. But that's it. When we review those memories, and we've done dozens of edits on our book, when we go back into that memory, it usually evokes tears of either happiness or sadness.
There's the parts where we broke up. We often want to skip through that because it's such an unpleasant thing, but it's an important thing. That was part of our journey. Now, if you've been together for several years or even decades, as we would be, and a lot of our friends have been, you have the incredible advantage of having the treasure trove memories from which to draw. We often look at couples who have been together for a long time as people find it no longer exciting. It's because they've been together so long. We improperly frame the dynamics of a relationship. But this is one of the things that Poppy and I always talk about, is to reframe this relationship scenario, to reconsider all the gifts that our partners have, the personality traits, quirks, some of them, that make them so special to us. And it is indeed a gift in and of itself.
You know, we have friends and clients that have been married as long as we've been apart, and they have beautiful, wonderful relationships. And we've looked at them, and we've realized that these couples have one thing in common. They cherish each other. They may even roll their eyes when their partner does or says something silly, but there's always like, I think what I call it is like a love smile on their face. So that's number one on our 5 things to validate and make sure that Valentine's Day lingers throughout the year, is to cherish your partner. This means acknowledging him or her in some way, maybe verbally, a note, a loving gesture, and every day to remind them of how you cherish them. That's every day, just one thing. And it doesn't take long. It takes under 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yes, validate them. This is one of the things that Poppy and I do every night. We write down on little cards. This is something we've been doing now for most of the new year here.
Since January 1st.
Okay. Excuse me, folks. The one thing that which we are grateful, because there's always something you can look at every day. Even if a day's been not a great day, you can find something in that day that you are very grateful for. There's always, and it
could be like a learning opportunity that you reframe.
Right.
And what's the lesson learned from something that you first assumed was a very bad day?
And we can mix it up. One day it might be a Post-it note card. The other might be a completely undistracted moment where I'll take Poppy in my arms, and this is one of the things I love to do. I often find myself, if we're like at a party or a gathering of some sort and Poppy's talking to someone else, I often catch myself looking at her talking, and she's smiling, and her great effervescent personality is pouring out, and I just look at her and that beautiful face and smile, and I go, wow, I can't believe I'm with Poppy. God, she's still so gorgeous. I can't believe it. And I don't just keep that to myself, folks. I when I get that quiet moment, I'll say, I'll tell her that. I'll say, I just want to tell you how lucky I feel to be with you. I just caught myself earlier looking at you and being stunned. And so this is something it's an oh my gosh moment that I can just keep sharing with her. And it's a unique perspective that I have. I don't look at her with older eyes that are now just turned 60 years old the other day. Oh my God, I can't believe they're that old. But I look at her with the eyes of a 21-year-old kid. I look at her, the guy who fell in love with her all those years ago. Those are the eyes that I look at her with.
And that's what we suggest with our clients and with you is that except for today, I'm not going to get that hug and a kiss because that's one thing we don't want to share is germs. So
luckily, it doesn't come over the airwaves here.
So maybe he'll do a Post-it note or something. I'm not sure, but and you know what he does? The first opportunity when we are alone, he does. He'll be walking to the car and he might even pause. And he says, I can't tell you how often I get caught off guard when you're engaging with someone else. And I see that same warm smile, the face that I fell in love with all those years ago at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. And even though I'm accustomed to it now, this validation hits me kind of powerfully. And, a long time ago, I had what I call my, quote, unworthy voice. And every now and then, usually when I'm tired or I feel some stress, it tries to reemerge. And that voice is usually silenced by Geoff's kind and loving words. And for whatever reason, his words bump up against that part of me that determined I was not deserving of those words. And that doesn't happen anymore, but it did in the very beginning when we got together 6 years ago.
And today I sent a Poppy a meme I saw on Facebook. And it was an image from The Sound of Music with the lyrics from Sound of Music with Captain Von Trapp and Maria in that beautiful moment when they're in the gazebo in the garden and they both realize that they love each other. Maria has an awed or bewildered look on her face. And the captain looks very happy. Maria wonders out loud, how can this be happening to me? And when Poppy and I first got back together, she had that Maria Von Trapp look on her face on a regular basis. And it was kind of puzzling to me, and this incredulous expression came out when I usually said something really nice or loving to her, again, than when we first got together. And we even wrote about it in our book, and we titled one of the chapters, Something Good. It's somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. So thankfully, that look has disappeared from Poppy's face, so I must have done something good. So consider this. What if you surprise your partner today or tonight with something like this? When you reconnect at the end of the day or in the morning, make sure your hands are free. Put down that phone, no devices or anything else, the spatula if you're cooking, and take your partner's hands in yours. Pause, look them in the eyes, and say one sentence, a cherishing sentence. If you insert the word beautiful or handsome wherever you want to in that one sentence, you will have succeeded. Money back guarantee.
See, and that's the whole thing, is that we so often are kind of stingy with our praise and compliments. Hey, we don't need to, guys. It's totally free. And it takes less than 1 minute. But the after effects of something like this, that can last like days and weeks. And if you commit to saying or doing one per day, think about how you'll compound your cherishing. Wow. That's amazing.
It is.
So our second way to validate your partner and make it feel like Valentine's Day all year round is to have a minimum of a 10-minute media-free moment. All devices off. The idea is to be sharing, truly engaging in a conversation. It's not about what's necessarily trending on Twitter. It's about things that underscore your family values, the things that are meaningful and significant in your primary relationships. So listening automatically validates our partner. And again, it's totally free. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough this putting down the phone. This is probably one of the biggest challenges that
our clients have.
Clients have. And I would say this is going to be something that the millennial generation, because they're growing up with these things, this is going to be one of the biggest barriers.
And the Gen Zs.
Yep. One of the biggest barriers they have to great communication and intimacy and connection. That device where we all think connects us so well is the one thing that disconnects us from that face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So the third way, folks, to validate your relationship all year round and not just on Valentine's Day, to act as if. Act as if it's a holiday every day. Think about what pops into your mind about Valentine's Day. For some, it's dread. I know a lot of guys are like, oh, no, it's Valentine's Day. Hope all the flowers aren't picked over on my way home from work today. I always love to go on Valentine's Day to the grocery store or Hallmark cards.
All the men
are gathered frantically. It's like just pawing through the ones that are left and like, oh, I've got to do something.
And there's never like any envelopes that match the size card that's left over.
And they're already been like touched
mangled
about 45 times and shoved back in the slot. So that's what they want to have a very entertaining time, folks. Just go watch that little show.
We did that last year. We did that, and I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't be laughing. I shouldn't be smiling because it's not really fair, because you could see the panic and the angst on their faces, because
it doesn't come naturally and it becomes so forced in so many ways. For Valentine's Day, it becomes almost a pressure-filled thing. That's why you do it every day, folks. If you do it every day, it takes the pressure off.
So this morning, I was at Trader Joe's, and a guy was coming in with a dozen roses behind me in the checkout line. And I was like, God, see, he knows. He got burned last year. I almost asked him, were you on there December 14th trying to buy these flowers and it didn't work out? I know he got burned last year.
Okay. The other thing guys might forget to do is a dinner reservation, and they're calling around like crazy, and the only remaining seating's like at 9:45, and we're all wanting to get ready to go to bed practically, So if you're like many people, you will have already thought about Valentine's Day and what you might do, because you cannot go anywhere in the month of February without being just barraged with red and pink things. The colors have been lasered into our corneas.
Yes.
So you've already had conscious thoughts about this day. That's all we ask. Have conscious thought about what your partner might like every day. You do this as an intention. It's always with you.
So like in the morning when you're getting ready, even just pause for less than a minute and think about, what would my partner like today? What could I do to honor and cherish him or her today? And this doesn't mean that you have to do a lot. I mean, just holding that intention in your head, it means that life's distractions, just for that moment, have to take a back seat. It means that your partner is at the forefront of your consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, now we're on number 4 on our list of validate. And it's easy if you already do that. If not, it's also easy to integrate this into your day. And it's simple. Ready? And it's a cliche and it's trite and whatever, but it still works. Say, I love you. First thing in the morning and before you drift off to sleep. The most tender I love yous from my Geoff are sleepy murmurs. I like those little dreamy I love yous that come out of his mouth just before he fades off to sleep. We always turn and look at each other and say, I love you, except for last night because he had a little fever, but we don't want those germs. But I might give him a loving look. We always look, even if we can't touch. So spread love however you can. Say I love you. Give your partner a loving look, and every day, and you will keep Valentine's Day solid all year long. And if you do have the time during the day, text, email, call, face your partner, and say I love you in the middle of the day. I mean, I promise you, you cannot get enough. This is like when people say, does holding newborn babies too much make them spoiled? No, it's a fallacy. Saying I love you too much. There's no such thing as saying I love you too much.
Yeah, it isn't. And it's one of those things that, I cherish that moment every night, because I'll stop for just a few moments and I'll just gaze at Poppy's eyes and her face and her smile. And I will just see this 21-year-old girl that I fell in love with. And so that's...
How lucky am I that I look 21 in his eyes? Oh, boy, that's pretty exciting.
And then she'll tell me I look 21 as well. And I say, well, it's because it's dim lighting at night. You can't see all the gray hairs and wrinkles. So, Okay, number 5. Let's touch on this touchy subject. You should be, on Valentine's Day, you should be making love and having wonderful, intimate, passionate sex with your partner. I'm saying this, obviously, with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. It is a touchy subject, the idea of intimacy. In great relationships, it isn't a problem. It comes easily and naturally. And one
These
of the
are
things,
like open communicating relationships.
Yes.
But if communication is stifled or not readily forthcoming, sex and intimacy can be a really touchy subject.
It can be. One partner might think that the other is like sex crazy. That's all you want is sex all the time. And the other might think that the partner is practically celibate. You never want to do it. When one partner touches the other, it's not automatically a foregone conclusion that sexual intercourse is the result. When there's been a long spell in between lovemaking, that touch becomes touchy. It might make someone say, like, well, your only reason you're touching me is for the sake of you want something out of me. And and one of the things that I would suggest to you all here, we've gone through 1 through 4. If especially guys, if you regularly put these 1 through 4 steps in that we've talked about into play all the time, I guarantee you, number 5 here, the intimacy and lovemaking will become so dramatically easier, it'll stun you.
Right. And also, if there's been any other issues or, some sort of abuse along the way with either partner, we suggest as relationship consultants, absolutely seek professional help, see a therapist, see somebody that can help you resolve those things instead of just pushing them aside. I mean, it's really important to try and bring that to an open discussion, an open, honest discussion. Even the discussion itself has its good share of intimacy, and that will bring connection to the couple.
Yes, it's important to talk about all these touchy subjects and be sure that you each understand one another's feelings, thoughts, and your needs. And our communication tool, again, the emotional clock, is a great way to approach any of these discussions, especially if there's been a lengthy time that's elapsed from any intimate coupling. We always talk about this, that you if there is something that's out there, there's something that's troubling you,
an obstacle,
you need to address that first. That's right. Always, you need to get those things out of the way. You're not going to have really a great connection. Even if you do make love, the connection won't be as wonderful as if you've taken the time to really sort through, really listen to each other, and really talk about things that are on your mind.
Right. And if you can approach each other with touching all the time, share tenderness, looks, gentle caresses, you have the potential outcome of sexual intercourse, and it doesn't have to be a huge deal anymore.
Absolutely.
Some partner may feel guilty about not remembering the last time they made love when the other partner has like a mental spreadsheet. So what we've seen happen with our clients is that lovemaking becomes sometimes a bargaining chip, a negotiation, and ultimatums, consequences, withholding. These are all really toxic behaviors for any relationship. And we always say to our clients, resentment has no place in a heart-healthy relationship. These barriers to intimacy might include, just biology, illness, fatigue, former abuse, stress, anxiety performance, or decreased sexual appetite. And what can you do about it? Well, you can communicate about it. And if one partner is fatigued or has added stress at work, talk about those issues. Get them off the table so sexuality has an open door again. And again, if there are things that are too challenging, the obstacles seem too big, please seek professional help.
Right. Again, this is very important to repeat. If you have been together a long time, first of all, that's a blessing in itself. You have so many incredible memories to go back to and to recall. Go back to the beginning. Go back to remember those fallen in love moments more than 3 decades ago or 6 years ago, as we had for us. And this is, again,
it could be 6 weeks ago for you. That's okay.
That's totally fine. But it's those moments are so precious, and it always reminds you, why you fell in love. That person you fell in love with initially, because we often lose track of that when it's not your own fault. It's just life getting in the way.
Right. And we often say that, external forces always trip us up in every relationship. Even the really heart-healthy ones, they get tripped up. And it's important to identify and address those issues. So this Valentine's Day, you have the golden opportunity to really lay the foundation for a beautiful, heart-filled life together, not just on February 14th, but every day after that throughout the year. With this week's podcast themed keyword of validate, we've shared with you 5 ways to maintain the feeling or essence of Valentine's Day every day. Number 1?
Number 1 is, again, to cherish. It can be both verbal or nonverbal cherishing.
Right. Number 2 is a media-free moment. It has a minimum of 10 minutes. Listening costs $0 and gives you incredible ROI, return on your investment.
And I would suggest to you probably that 10-minute could turn into...
Could be an hour.
End up being an hour. That's what you want to have happen. You're starting to share so much and you're not being distracted.
But you're committed to at least 10 minutes.
Number 3, again, is to act as if every day is Valentine's Day. Have that intention, expectation in your heart and in your mind. Each and every day is like that. Don't just wait for the moment where we all get all tensed up over this Valentine's Day thing.
Right. And number 4, as we said, is easy. Say I love you at least twice a day. Bare minimum is morning and before you fall asleep. Dreamy I love yous, as I said, are the perfect sleep send-off. And if you can say or write 1 or 2 more I love yous throughout the day, we promise it'll be a positive move.
You know, I've heard this expression before, not to go to bed angry. People often say that, which of course it would seem like a given. I'm sure there are so many people out there that go to bed with a little bit of angst, a little bit of anger, a little chip on their shoulder about the person across them in bed. And the last thing on their mind is the I love you. Stopping them thinking about that I love you makes you change that paradigm entirely. It makes you go like, wow, I need to...
Absolutely.
I just can't be, just easily taking this easy path of just ignoring the person.
And we've said that too with not going to bed angry. You can shift those thoughts and put that aside. And imagine if you never saw your partner again, you would change the way you think about going to bed.
Right. The last way to validate your partner, and all year round, not just on Valentine's Day, number 5, touch on that touchy subject. Touch and sex and cuddling are different acts of love and intimacy. We said, the sexual intercourse doesn't always have to be that. Right. It can just be a very cozy moment together. That can be that great intimacy that can be more than enough. So take the time now, folks, to talk through the desires of your partner and communicate your own desires as well. You have to share that. Keeping these things to yourself doesn't serve anybody.
And our emotional clock, as Geoff mentioned earlier, is a great sort of outside communication tool to broach those touchy subjects, not just sex, but parenting, finances, all those sort of scary things that we don't like to talk about.
So we hope you'll take to heart some of the tips we've shared with you on the podcast today, Your Healthy Heart, the Validate podcast. And we invite you to go to our website, relationalexperts.com, and we offer a free 30-minute consultation for you on any subject.
And no judgments, just pure, authentic listening to help you hone in on your goals and dreams. And we'd love to hear from you. So please share your comments on our website, relationalexperts.com, or follow us on our Relational Experts Facebook page, or on Twitter, we are Relational A-Team, because we didn't have enough characters, so we had to shorten it. And we're eager to hear how you might have implemented these 5 steps we shared with you and how to validate your partner.
Okay, next week's podcast, we will talk about a subject that you've written in for us to discuss. The age-old dilemma of how do I do this work-life balance? One of those things that gets in the way of intimacy on a regular basis. We'll give you some new tips on how to juggle your personal life, your work, family, and parenting.
And as a trained and certified Myers-Briggs facilitator, we'll give you a quick overview on the Myers-Briggs personality assessment and how those differences crop up in your home and work arenas. And once we know our personality traits, which are innate, by the way, we can totally improve our interactions and communications with others at home and at the office. It's really another valuable resources for all of our intercommunication.
So we hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast, Your Healthy Heart, and we look forward to sharing with you again next week. Find us and share your comments or a topic you want to have discussed at relationalexperts.com or message on Facebook or on our Relational Experts page.
Oh, and you know what? If you want to write into us as one of our listeners did and say, here's a topic I'd like to discuss, please do. That would be great. We will absolutely queue it up into our podcast queue. And we almost forgot. Did you guys remember the one empty hole in the mostly empty heart-shaped box of chocolates where you put in other things that we shared with you? Leave it empty with a little question mark in there. And you're going, what? So when your partner inquires what the question mark means after the partner has oohed and awed over your memories that you put in there, maybe a coupon for something, a special restaurant reservation. When your partner inquires what the question mark means, you merely say, that space is empty because that is what my life would be without you.
Ooh,
whoa.
Like that one.
I love that. So have a wonderful heart-filled Valentine's Day, week, month, year. We are Poppy and Geoff Spencer, your relational experts, signing off with much love in our hearts.